Welcome, dear friends. Today I will share with you the inspiring story of a young man who overcame adversity, found courage, and changed his destiny. Enjoy the story.
Jake Walker wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished his shift at Danny's Garage, a small repair shop in the middle of nowhere, Texas, where he had worked for the past 5 years. It was a tough job in a tough town, but it paid the bills and allowed him to save a little each month for the operation that would one day help him walk without pain. You see, Jake wasn't like the other mechanics at Danny's. He had a severe limp, the result of a childhood accident that had left him with a damaged leg. Now in his late 20s, Jake dreamed of the day he could afford the surgery to fix his leg and maybe, just maybe, start a new life somewhere he could pursue his true passion: building custom motorcycles. The only thing that made the long days bearable was his friendship with Alex, the kind-hearted owner of the garage who always supported him. He could almost ignore the constant jabs from Tony and Rick, the two bullies who worked there too. Almost. Jake was taking a break out back, enjoying a few moments of peace, when Tony and Rick barged in, laughing and joking loudly. "Well, if it isn't hop along, Jake," Tony sneered. "Fix any bikes today, or did you just trip over your own feet?" The men burst into cruel laughter as Jake felt his face flush with anger and embarrassment. He turned to go back inside, but ran straight into Alex. "Whoa, Jake, you all right?" Alex asked, steadying him. Then he saw Tony and Rick and his expression hardened. "What's going on here?" "Nothing, boss," Rick said with mock innocence. "Just having some fun." "Your fun ends now," Alex snapped. "I'm tired of the way you treat Jake. Leave him alone, got it?" Tony rolled his eyes. "Geez, relax. We were just joking." "It's not a joke, it's bullying, and it stops today," Alex said firmly. "Now get back to work, both of you." The men exchanged sullen looks but went back inside. Alex turned to Jake with a sigh. "You sure you're okay?" Jake nodded, managing a weak smile. He was lucky to have a friend like Alex, even if friendship was all it could ever be. He didn't know the whole truth about Jake. No one did, and Jake intended to keep it that way. The next few weeks flew by as the garage prepared for its biggest event of the year, the local motorcycle rally. The whole crew was working late every night, but while the others complained about the extra hours, Jake found solace in the constant work. It kept his mind off the past, until one evening when everything came rushing back. He was closing up shop when Tony and Rick cornered him in the dimly lit parking lot. "Think you're special because Alex likes you?" Tony hissed, shoving Jake against a car. "You're nothing but a cripple." Rick laughed. "Yeah, why would Alex want a gimp like you around when he could have real workers?" Jake tried to push past them, but they blocked his way, trapping him. Panic rose in his chest, his pulse pounding in his ears. He opened his mouth to shout, forgetting for a moment that no one was around to hear. Suddenly, the shop door banged open and Alex stormed out. "What's going on here?" he demanded. Tony and Rick jumped apart guiltily. "Nothing, just talking," Tony stammered. "I saw you. Consider this your last warning. Pull something like this again and you're both fired. Now go home." The men slunk away and Alex turned to Jake with concern. "Jake, I'm so sorry. Let me give you a ride home." Jake shook his head, embarrassed, but Alex insisted. As they drove through the quiet streets, Jake felt an overwhelming urge to unburden himself. Before he could second-guess it, he found himself speaking. "I wasn't always like this. I had an accident when I was 10, he began. Alex looked at him, surprised, but said nothing, letting Jake continue. "A drunk driver hit me while I was riding my bike. My leg was shattered, and I've never been the same. I've been saving up for surgery ever since. I hate being seen as weak, as less than." When he finished, Jake felt oddly lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. He glanced at Alex, nervous about what he might see, but Alex's eyes held no pity, only kindness and understanding. "I had no idea, Jake. I'm so sorry you've had to go through this. But you're not alone anymore. I'm here for you, whatever you need." Jake blinked back tears, filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered. The day of the motorcycle rally arrived, and the garage was in chaos. Bikers and enthusiasts from all over filled the lot, and Jake was busier than ever. He tried to ignore Tony and Rick's snide remarks, but it wasn't easy. Then, in the middle of the event, a commotion broke out near the main stage. A man was clutching his chest, his face pale and sweating. "Somebody call 911, a woman screamed as the crowd erupted into panic. But Jake didn't hesitate. He rushed to the man's side and began performing CPR, just as he'd learned in the first aid course Alex had insisted the staff take. 1 compression, 2, 3, and the man gasped for air, color returning to his face as the paramedics arrived. The man's wife, tears in her eyes, thanked Jake profusely. "You saved his life," she said, her voice shaking. Jake, still processing what had happened, felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Alex looking at him with pride. "You're a hero, Jake. Thank you." The rest of the day passed in a blur, and that night, as Jake walked home, Alex by his side, he couldn't stop thinking about the events. When they reached his door, Jake turned to Alex, a new determination in his eyes. "That man today? The one I saved. It made me realize something. I've been letting my past control me, letting it hold me back. But not anymore. I'm going to get that surgery and I'm going to build the life I want." Alex smiled. "And I'll be here to help you every step of the way." Jake nodded, feeling a new sense of hope. For the first time in a long time, he felt like his dreams were within reach. And with friends like Alex by his side, he knew he could overcome anything. In the weeks following the rally, Jake noticed a change in himself. He walked with a bit more confidence and held his head a little higher. The determination to change his life, fueled by the gratitude of the man he saved, gave him a new sense of purpose. Alex noticed it too, and often commented on how proud he was of Jake. One evening, as they were closing up the garage, Alex approached Jake with an idea. "Jake, I've been thinking. You have a real talent for bikes, especially custom builds. How would you feel about taking on some custom projects? We could set up a small section of the garage just for that." Jake's eyes widened in surprise and excitement. "You mean it? I'd love to. Alex, that's always been my dream." "Then it's settled. We'll start small, but I have a feeling this is going to be something great," Alex said with a smile. True to his word, Alex cleared out a corner of the garage and helped Jake set up a workspace. They spread the word among their customers, and soon enough, Jake had his first custom job. He threw himself into the project, spending late nights perfecting every detail. The satisfaction he felt upon completing the bike was indescribable. For the first time, he felt like he was truly following his passion. Meanwhile, Tony and Rick continued their bullying, but Jake found it easier to ignore them. He had bigger things to focus on, and their taunts seemed petty in comparison. One day, while working on a particularly challenging custom build, Jake overheard them talking about a street race happening that weekend. They were boasting about how they planned to participate and win. Jake couldn't resist. "A street race, huh? Mind if I come and watch?" Tony sneered. "What's the point? You can't race with that leg of yours." Jake smiled calmly. "Maybe not, but I'd still like to watch." Rick laughed. "Sure, come if you want. Just don't cry when you see us win." That weekend, Jake arrived at the race with Alex by his side. The atmosphere was electric, with the roar of engines and the smell of gasoline filling the air. Jake watched as Tony and Rick revved their bikes, confident and cocky. But as the race began, it quickly became clear that they had underestimated the competition. Halfway through the race, Tony's bike started to sputter. He tried to push it harder, but the engine gave out and he was forced to the side. Rick didn't fare much better, finishing near the back of the pack. Jake couldn't help but feel a small sense of satisfaction. After the race, Tony and Rick approached Jake, their faces red with anger and embarrassment. "You think this is funny?" Tony snapped. "Watching us fail?" Jake shook his head. "No, I think it's a lesson. You can't always win by being the loudest or the toughest. Sometimes you need skill, patience, and a bit of humility." Rick scoffed. "What do you know about racing?" Jake's expression softened. "I know more than you think. I've been building and fixing bikes for years. If you ever want to learn, I'd be happy to teach you." Tony and Rick exchanged glances, unsure how to respond. Jake's offer was genuine, and for the first time, they saw him not as a rival, but as someone who could help them improve. As the days turned into weeks, Jake's custom bike business began to thrive. Word spread about his skill and attention to detail, and soon he had more orders than he could handle. Alex helped him hire a couple of apprentices, and Jake took pride in teaching them everything he knew. One evening, as he was closing up the garage, Jake received a phone call. It was from Dr. Mitchell, the surgeon he had consulted about his leg. "Jake, I have good news," Dr. Mitchell said. "A new surgical technique has been developed, and I believe it could significantly improve your condition. The best part is, we can schedule it soon, and the cost will be covered by a new medical grant. Jake's heart raced with excitement and nervousness. Are you sure? This could really help me walk without pain? I'm confident it will make a big difference, Dr. Mitchell assured him. Let's schedule a consultation to go over the details. The news was almost too good to be true. Jake couldn't wait to tell Alex. The next morning, he walked into the garage with a spring in his step and a huge smile on his face. What's got you so excited? Alex asked, grinning. I just got a call from Dr. Mitchell. There's a new surgical technique that could fix my leg, and the cost is covered by a grant. I'm finally going to have the operation. Alex's face lit up with joy. That's incredible, Jake. I'm so happy for you. As the day of the surgery approached, Jake couldn't help but feel a mixture of excitement and anxiety. He had waited so long for this moment, and now that it was finally happening, it felt surreal. Alex offered to take him to the hospital and wait during the procedure, a gesture that meant the world to Jake. The surgery was a success. When Jake woke up, Dr. Mitchell was there with a reassuring smile. Everything went smoothly, Jake. You'll need some time to recover and physical therapy to regain strength, but I'm confident you'll see significant improvement. Tears of gratitude filled Jake's eyes. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. This means everything to me. During his recovery, Jake received an outpouring of support from the community. His customers, apprentices, and even Tony and Rick stopped by to wish him well. It was a testament to the impact he had made and the respect he had earned. Months later, Jake stood in the garage, his leg feeling stronger than it had in years. The pain that had once been a constant companion was now a distant memory. He looked around at the bustling shop, filled with the sounds of tools and laughter, and felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Alex approached, clapping him on the shoulder. How's it feel to be back on your feet? Jake smiled, his heart full. It feels like a new beginning. I'm ready to take on the world. With his leg healed and his custom bike business thriving, Jake's dreams were no longer just distant hopes. They were his reality. He had overcome adversity, found courage, and changed his destiny. And with friends like Alex by his side, he knew that the future was bright and full of endless possibilities.